This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from...
The silence inside the palace archive did not begin with a speech. It began with a single envelope. According to persistent royal speculation that has circulated for years, a privately held collection of Princess Diana's correspondence contained one document that had never entered the public record. If such a letter truly existed, and if it had been intended for Prince William and Catherine, its discovery would have reopened one of the monarchy's most emotionally charged chapters. Within hours, whispers spread through royal circles, and attention quickly turned to one question. What could Diana have written that would still matter decades after her death? No official statement confirmed the existence of such a letter. Yet royal historians have long documented Diana's habit of writing deeply personal notes to friends, staff members, and those she trusted most. Many of those letters have resurfaced through auctions and private collections over the years, offering remarkable insight into her character, her devotion to William and Harry, and her hopes for their future. That documented history has fueled years of public speculation that other unseen correspondence may still remain in private hands, waiting for the right moment to emerge. If the rumors were true, this was never about a family heirloom. It was about legacy.
And I remember a very lovely air stewardess looking after me. I was all over the place, just getting through lots of tissues and crying. And then I thought, look, I've got to get a grip here and do something useful for Diana. And I decided the first thing that needed to be done was to find somebody to write and deliver the eulogy.
Palace observers have often noted that Diana's memory continues to shape public conversation surrounding the royal family more than 25 years after her passing. Every newly discovered photograph, every handwritten note, and every archived document immediately becomes international news. According to long-standing royal commentary, even the possibility of another personal message from Diana would be enough to trigger intense discussions behind palace walls before a single word reached the public. Hi viewers, if you believe Princess Diana's legacy still deserves to be heard, don't just watch this story in silence. Take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who still remembers the compassion she brought to the world. Every like and every share tells YouTube that these conversations still matter, and every new subscriber helps keep stories like this from being forgotten. Then tell us in the comments, should deeply personal royal letters remain private forever, or should history eventually reveal them? If stories that explore royal history, hidden archives, and enduring mysteries capture your attention, take a moment to subscribe. Every week brings another journey into the moments that continue to fascinate millions around the world, and your support helps keep those stories alive. No one inside the archive was thinking about headlines. They were thinking about consequences. Diana's memory had never faded from public life. Every rediscovered photograph, every handwritten note, every previously unseen document had the power to reopen old conversations about family, duty, and the lasting mark she left on the monarchy. That was precisely why the envelope inspired both excitement and hesitation. The first examination began quietly. Experts compared the handwriting with authenticated letters preserved in historical collections. The paper was measured, photographed, and inspected under magnification. Every fold, every crease, and every trace of ink became part of an exhaustive review. Nothing could be assumed. Nothing could be rushed. If the document proved authentic within this fictional narrative, it would represent one of the most remarkable archival discoveries connected to Diana's legacy. While the examination continued, another concern emerged. News of the discovery, even if only rumored, could spread beyond the palace walls before the review was complete. Advisors feared that speculation would quickly outrun the facts. They had watched similar moments unfold before, where whispers became headlines long before evidence could be properly evaluated. This time, they were determined to proceed with extraordinary caution. William was not immediately informed. Catherine was not summoned without reason. According to this fictional account, those responsible for the review believed the couple should only be approached if every available historical test supported the document's credibility. Anything less risked turning a deeply personal matter into another public spectacle. As the evening settled over London, one investigator reached the final page of the archive folder. Hidden beneath the envelope was a small handwritten note that had escaped everyone's attention during the first inspection.
And then I woke up very, very early on the Wednesday morning, between the death and the funeral, and I just sat down and wrote it, and it took about an hour and a half, and just came pouring out, really. Actually, it's interesting, sounds rather sort of bizarre, but I did go to Diana's coffin the day after I'd written it, and I read it to her in there.
It was only a few lines long, but it suggested that the sealed letter was never intended to travel alone. The room fell silent once again. What those few forgotten lines appeared to reveal would change the direction of the entire investigation before William or Catherine had even seen the envelope. The heavy oak doors of the private sitting room clicked shut, sealing out the hum of Kensington Palace and locking two people inside with a piece of paper that carried the weight of a ghost. William stood by the tall window, his fingers tracing the edges of the thick cream cardstock, his thumb hovering over the broken wax seal. Catherine sat just across from him on the edge of the striped armchair, her posture rigid, her hands folded tightly in her lap, watching every micro-movement of his face. The atmosphere inside the room was suffocatingly still, charged with the kind of silence that usually precedes an unavoidable shift in history. No cameras were flashing outside. No press officers were standing by with prepared statements. There was only the raw, unfiltered presence of a voice from the past, freshly pulled from an uncatalogued folder in the archives and delivered straight into the hands of a prince who had spent nearly 3 decades trying to balance his mother's memory with his future crown. William adjusted his stance, his breathing shallow as he brought the paper closer to the light. The ink was dark, precise, and unmistakable, carrying the familiar slant of Princess Diana's handwriting.
Case, I was looking directly at William and Harry across her coffin as I delivered it. And that was very tough. In fact, in the final paragraph, I'd run out of energy and almost out of oxygen. I know it sounds rather overdramatic, but I had such a tightness.
Catherine reached out, gently placing a hand over his wrist, her touch serving as a silent anchor as he began to read the line that had caught the archivist's eye hours earlier. The words did not open with standard formal greetings or palace protocol. Instead, they cut straight to the core of personal responsibility, speaking directly to a future that Diana could only envision from the turbulent vantage point of her own final years. For William, holding the physical page was an unnerving experience that blurred the line between the public icon the world remembered and the woman who used to tuck him in at night. The document did not read like a grand political manifesto, nor did it contain the explosive accusations that conspiracists had whispered about for decades. Instead, it unfolded as a deeply personal blueprint, a series of urgent reflections written by a mother who understood all too well how easily the heavy machinery of the crown could crush the human beings tasked with wearing it. If you are listening to this right now and you claim to honor Princess Diana, ask yourself an honest question. Are you going to keep walking away from the truth, scrolling past while others fight to preserve her real legacy, or are you going to take 3 seconds to hit that subscribe button right now? Because if you turn your back on this narrative now, you are choosing to let the true history be buried forever, and deep down, you know her memory deserves better from you than your silence. As William read further down the page, Catherine leaned closer, her eyes scanning the flowing script beside his. The message focused intently on the concepts of family duty, compassion, and the vital necessity of protecting future generations from the toxic cycles of internal division. Diana had written extensively about the unique burdens William would one day carry, reminding him that true strength in leadership does not come from cold detachment or rigid adherence to tradition, but from an unyielding commitment to empathy. She urged him never to allow resentment, pride, or outside interference to dictate how he cared for those closest to him. This emotional plea connected directly with the documented reality of how Diana raised her boys. Historical records from the 90s consistently show that Diana went to great lengths to expose William to life outside palace walls, taking him to homeless shelters, clinics, and ordinary street markets. She was determined to ground his upbringing in real human connection, fighting against the traditional palace apparatus that sought to isolate young royals behind iron gates and formal decorum. Seeing those same maternal values reflected on paper, written during one of the most isolated periods of her life, brought a visible wave of emotion across William's face.
Overcoming me as I spoke because of the emotion, that by the end, in that last paragraph, I can still remember actually, I had to punch each word, each syllable out of the base of my stomach with my muscles, because that was the only way I could get it out, really. And it was tough, you know. I'd practiced a few times to myself before, and even in practice, addressing my nephews about their mother was incredibly hard.
Catherine remained quiet, her expression reflecting a deep understanding of the delicate position they occupied. Within the palace, every personal decision was scrutinized, every gesture interpreted as a strategic move. Yet here, in the privacy of their living quarters, they were confronting a message that asked them to strip away the public theatre and focus purely on human integrity. Diana's written words warned against the subtle poison of household rivalries, urging William and Catherine to stand as an unbreakable unit, regardless of the pressure applied by courtiers, legal advisors, or media storms. The text hinted at the pain Diana had experienced when private family disagreements were leaked to the press, transformed into public spectacles, and weaponized by rival factions within the royal system. She pleaded with her eldest son to break that pattern, emphasizing that the survival of the monarchy depended not on perfection, but on unity and genuine care for one another. To William, who had watched his family endure painful public separations and bitter media battles throughout his youth, the warning felt less like historical advice and more like an urgent, contemporary directive. Catherine watched as William turned the page over, his fingers moving slowly over the textured paper as if trying to absorb the exact moment his mother had pressed her pen to the cardstock. The atmosphere in the room grew heavier as the emotional weight of her parenting philosophy came into sharp relief. Diana had known the immense public expectations that would eventually fall upon Catherine as well, writing with a sense of foresight about the pressures a future princess would face under the relentless glare of global attention. Her words offered a quiet validation of the exact path Catherine had chosen, encouraging her to remain a steady, grounding force for William when the institution tried to push them apart. Yet, just as the emotional tone of the letter seemed to reach a natural, comforting plateau, William stopped dead mid-sentence. His eyes locked onto a paragraph nestled near the bottom of the second page, written in a slightly tighter, more urgent hand than the rest of the document. Catherine noticed the sudden change in his posture immediately, her brow furrowing as she looked up at his face. The color had drained slightly from his cheeks, his jaw setting into a tight, rigid line as he reread the passage silently to himself. This was not a standard reflection on duty or motherhood. It was a single, tightly packed paragraph that had never been noted in any official inventory, a sequence of sentences that completely altered the context of the entire document. William did not speak a word out loud. He simply held the page still, his eyes fixed on the ink, as the reality set in that the most complex part of his mother's final message was only now coming to light. An emergency meeting slammed to order inside a soundproof basement conference room at Clarence's house, the wooden table littered with legal briefs, confidential memos, and red ink drafts. Senior private secretaries were already arguing before the doors even fully shut, their voices hushed but viciously sharp. The quiet discovery of the handwritten document had shattered the carefully orchestrated calm of the royal household, exposing deep fault lines between traditional courtiers and modern strategists. Half the room wanted the document locked away in a private safe forever, arguing that releasing a previously uncatalogued message from Princess Diana would instantly reignite decades-old media frenzies, tear open healing family wounds, and destabilize the current reign. The other half argued that hiding the paper risked an even worse disaster if a leaked copy reached the press, framing the institution as deceitful and obsessed with cover-ups. Outside the soundproof doors, rumors moved through palace corridors like electricity, mutating with every whispered exchange between staff members. Royal historians and constitutional attorneys were summoned on short notice, brought in under strict non-disclosure agreements to evaluate the legal, historical, and public relations fallout. Every single word of the paragraph William had uncovered was scrutinized under desk lamps, with advisors debating whether the text represented a genuine historical artifact or explosive narrative landmine. The friction was not just about the paper itself, but about who controlled the story of the monarchy's past and who had the authority to shape its future. If you are watching this right now and you plan to scroll past without subscribing, ask yourself why you choose to ignore the truth when it is standing right in front of you. Millions of people claim to care about justice, yet they remain passive while important history gets manipulated behind closed doors. By hitting that subscribe button right now, you prove that you actually care about transparency, or you can walk away and admit to yourself that you preferred remaining ignorant all along. As the debate intensified, Queen Camilla became aware of the mounting tension within the household inside the story's narrative framework. The concern circulating through her inner circle was not rooted in fear of personal attack or scandal, but in the undeniable psychological reality of Diana's enduring shadow over the institution. For years, public perception had been carefully managed to build stability around the current reign, balancing respect for the past with a focus on modern service. Yet the sudden reappearance of Diana's voice, speaking directly from beyond the grave with unscripted urgency, threatened to disrupt that delicate equilibrium, instantly shifting the public focus back to an era of conflict and division. Private legal consultation stretched late into the night, as advisors meticulously cross-referenced historical records, diary entries, and archival letters to determine how the newly surfaced document fit into the broader historical picture. Senior officials questioned whether the unaddressed paragraph could be interpreted as a direct criticism of institutional decisions made after Diana's death, or if it was simply a mother's raw, emotional reflection on family preservation. The conflict within the palace exposed a fundamental divide between those who prioritized institutional protection at all costs and those who believed that suppressing Diana's final wishes would permanently damage the crown's integrity. Inside the private corridors of power, tension grew so thick that long-standing working relationships began to fray under the pressure. Staff members were instructed to limit all internal communication regarding the document, while archivists were quietly audited to determine how such a crucial piece of paper had remained hidden for so long without being entered into official registers. Every step taken by the legal team was calibrated to avoid public leaks, yet the sheer number of people involved made total silence nearly impossible to maintain. The psychological weight of the situation fell heavily on everyone involved, as advisors realized that any decision made in that basement room would ripple through the monarchy for generations. If the contents were kept secret, the risk of a catastrophic leak remained constant. If the document was formally acknowledged, it would force the institution to publicly navigate sensitive questions about legacy, memory, and the enduring influence of a figure who refused to be forgotten. Just as a fragile consensus began to form among the legal team to lock the document in a secure vault pending further review, an unexpected development halted the entire discussion. A senior archivist discovered a second detail on the back of the cardstock, a brief, single sentence that had been overlooked during the initial inspection, completely upending the legal strategy and forcing every advisor in the room to rethink their next move. The hidden passage was read aloud into the breathless quiet of the study, the words striking the room like a physical blow. The anticipated personal attack, the bitter score settling that legal advisors had braced themselves for, simply was not there. Instead, the tightly written text revealed a raw, heart-wrenching plea for absolute unity, an impassioned command from a mother urging her son and his future wife to place service, integrity, and mutual protection above every personal rivalry, institutional pressure, or internal power struggle. Diana had explicitly stripped away the polished veneer of royal duty, warning that the true danger to their future lay not in public criticism or media storms, but in allowing quiet resentments to poison their shared bond from within. William stared at the page as the full scope of his mother's intent settled into his chest, realizing that her final message was never designed to destroy the family, but to save it. Catherine sat beside him in resolute silence, her hand tightening around his as the profound wisdom of those words cut through decades of palace paranoia. The message urged them to lead with genuine empathy, to serve as an unshakable shield for one another, and to ensure that compassion remained the guiding force of their public life. For William, holding the physical page, the sudden realization hit that the values his mother had fought so hard to instill during his youth were the exact core principles he and Catherine were striving to protect in a rapidly changing world. Are you really going to sit there, watch this powerful truth come to light, and then just walk away without hitting the subscribe button? If you close this video right now without taking action, you are actively choosing to ignore a mother's ultimate plea for peace, proving that you prefer shallow drama over real substance. Show that you actually possess the empathy to respect her memory by subscribing right now, or live with the fact that you allowed her true words to be drowned out by noise once again. Within the framing of this narrative premise, word of the letter's actual contents rippled quietly through the upper echelons of the palace, instantly disarming the advisors who had advocated for total secrecy. The paranoia that had consumed the legal team dissolved into a profound, uncomfortable quiet. Camilla, portrayed within this dramatic narrative as deeply affected by the revelation, found herself overwhelmed not by hostility or accusations, but by the sheer, unyielding power of Diana's enduring emotional legacy. The text made it impossible to reduce Diana's memory to past conflicts, forcing everyone inside the royal household to confront a message focused entirely on reconciliation, duty, and moral courage. The emotional impact of the discovery transformed a potentially explosive scandal into a quiet moment of institutional reflection. The letter did not seek to tear down the crown or expose past grievances, but instead offered a steadying hand from the past, calling on the next generation to break the destructive cycles that had damaged the family for decades. William recognized that his mother had foreseen the precise psychological pressures his family would face, leaving behind a timeless roadmap designed to preserve their humanity amidst the crushing demands of sovereign responsibility. As evening fell over the palace grounds, the atmosphere shifted from panic to a solemn acknowledgement of the letter's true significance. The document was no longer viewed as a dangerous threat to be buried in an archival vault, but as a vital historical record that captured the heart of Diana's vision for her children's future. The quiet revelation brought an unexpected clarity to the royal household, leaving advisors and family members alike to process the quiet power of a message that had waited in the dark for so many years just to deliver a call for peace. The golden seal was pressed firmly back onto the modern archive file, locking away the quiet truth that had threatened to tear the royal household apart. The ultimate bombshell was not an explosive condemnation or a bitter revenge plot, but a shocking act of grace from beyond the grave. Diana's final message contained no accusations against those who had harmed her, nor did it demand retributive justice from her sons. Instead, the greatest surprise buried inside the cream cardstock was an unyielding command of forgiveness, urging William and Catherine to elevate the service of the nation and the preservation of family unity above every personal grievance, ambition, or ancient conflict. This profound revelation transformed what could have been a destructive scandal into a quiet testament to a mother's foresight. Within this dramatic narrative, the letter proved that Diana's ultimate goal was never to tear down the institution that had caused her so much pain, but to safeguard her son from repeating the same tragic mistakes. By prioritizing compassion, unity, and integrity over institutional pride, her words offered a clear path forward for the future of the crown, proving that her true legacy was not rooted in the anger of the past, but in the healing of the future. If you turn off this video right now without subscribing, liking, and leaving your thought in the comments below, you are actively choosing to let this powerful message of forgiveness be erased by those who profit from drama. Shame on anyone who turns their back on a mother's true final wish just to chase shallow gossip. Hit that subscribe button right now and speak your mind in the comments, or accept that you were part of the problem all along. Was the greatest legacy Princess Diana left behind not a secret about the past, but an unbreakable blueprint for the future? The truth about her letter is now clear, but the real mystery is only beginning to unravel. In our very next episode, we reveal a dark discovery made inside the private estate of Highgrove. A forgotten, locked wooden chest belonging to King Charles has just been unsealed by archivists, containing a terrifying secret ledger that directly links royal money to a scandal the family tried to bury 40 years ago. You cannot afford to miss a single second of our next investigation, because what was written inside that ledger will change everything you thought you knew about the monarchy forever. Subscribe now so you do not get left in the dark when the truth drops.